Hello, my name's Emma Atkirst. I'm the Lead ADAPT psychologist working at Symbiotics. I've been working for the company now for 7 years, specialising in aviation and particularly in the assessment and selection arena. I've conducted a lot of ab initio assessments, so particularly looking at the cadet assessments that we do, and we also support lots of different cadet assessment processes for flight schools and for airlines. So I've been part of the development process of producing and developing our own internal processes for the selection and assessment, but also working quite closely with airlines and flight schools to carry out some of their on-site assessments, as well as supporting them with the online assessments that they do. So hopefully I can help answer a few of some of the questions that you might have before you start your flight training. Many flight schools will have an entrance exam or some type of entrance requirements or prerequisites that you may need to pass or to demonstrate before you are able to progress through the training. This is really beneficial for both you and the flight school to make sure that you have the skills and requirements to allow you to progress through the flight training. Different flight schools may have different entry requirements. Some may require you to take an exam or an assessment centre process, and others may require you to go and test your skills elsewhere to demonstrate that you have the capabilities before starting the assessment training with the school. You may experience a mixture of different types of assessments, so this will likely depend on the flight school, but you may experience a mixture or a blended version of a different use of the tests. So this may be pen and paper. This could also be online aptitude tests. You may also have behavioural or personality questionnaires, or this could also include interviews or group exercises, which could be done face-to-face in an assessment centre or virtually using remote assessment tools. You might also be expected to complete some coordination and dexterity based assessments. This could be using additional software such as joysticks or by using a flight simulator software. You are likely to experience a mixture of both options depending on the assessment type, the flight school, and also which stage of the assessment that you are at. So you may be expected to complete some personality or behavioural based questionnaires at home. They're completed at home to allow you to complete these in an environment that's more familiar and comfortable for you. You may then be expected to come forward to a flight school or an assessment centre and complete some aptitude based tests. It's likely any aptitude-based test would be invigilated, so this may take place at a flight school or an assessment centre. Similarly, if you're moving on to different stages of an assessment process, you may then have to have a face-to-face interview or group exercise, or again, these may be completed at home using remote assessment tool solutions. You may also have to come into the flight school if you're required to do any coordination and dexterity type tests, as this may be using equipment and additional software for joysticks and flight simulator based tools. As English is the language of aviation, many flight schools will likely have the majority, if not all, of their assessments carried out in English. However, of course, this can differ per flight school or by the country that you are in, and particularly the flight training program that you might be going on to. For example, if the flight training program offers you the opportunity to develop your English as you progress through the training, some of the tests at the start may allow you to take in your native language so that you can demonstrate your skills there. However, by the time you've finished your training, you will be expected to have a really good standard of English to be able to use this effectively. Some other tests, such as personality questionnaires, may also be available in your native language to ensure the nuances of the questionnaire are effectively put through in your own language. Many flight schools will not expect you to have a really advanced or high level of technical or aviation understanding. You may be expected to have a more basic or general overview about aviation, or in particular the mathematics and physics that go behind aviation. So for example, in a maths or physics-based assessment that you do, you may be asked some aviation-related questions that look to understand the context behind this, such as flight time, lift, drag, or any other relevant principles. Each flight school may have a slightly different range of assessments and tests that they would like you to do, so you may experience different subjects that you'll need to revise and prepare for. You'll likely be assessed on your maths and physics understanding. You may also experience tests and other assessments around cognitive reasoning. So what we mean by cognitive reasoning is looking at your spatial awareness, your working memory, and other items such as verbal and numerical reasoning. You may also be assessed on your coordination and dexterity, as well as perhaps some more personality and behavioural based questionnaires as well. With the personality and behavioural based questionnaires, it's really important that you're as open and honest as you can be during the questionnaire. Try not to try and second guess the question or try and think about what they might be asking you. What the questionnaires are for are to really understand a bit more about you, so be as open and honest as you can be. Some flight schools may want to assess your level of physical coordination and manual dexterity. This is to make sure that you have the physical skills and level of coordination required to be able to progress through the level of flight training that you'll be going through. So for retaking your assessment, this is really likely going to be on some of the aptitude or skills-based tests that you will have completed. It's really unlikely that you'll be asked to retake your personality or any other behavioural or preferences-based questionnaire. This is because there are no right or wrong answers here. It's really just to understand a bit more about you. So the elements of the assessment process that you're likely to have to retake are where the flight school is looking at your skills and aptitudes that you have for flight training. With regards to the timings for the retake process, different flight schools will have different timings that they will require before you're allowed to retake your assessment, and some may not allow retakes in the same assessment programme, so this can really vary. It may be some months before you're allowed to retake your assessment. That's to ensure that you have enough time to prepare and revise so that you can develop on any areas of weakness that you had at the first assessment attempt. It's really important as well that you try and get some feedback on your first assessment, as there are lots of reasons why you may have initially not passed the first criteria. So getting that feedback can make sure that you really focus on the area of weakness that you need to develop in order to reach the required standard. It's more than likely that different flight schools will differ on the limits of the amount of retakes that you can do. Some may allow you to retake as many times as you would like, whereas others may set certain limits and criteria before you can reapply again. What's really important is to try and focus on why you didn't pass your first assessment so that you can make sure that you focus on the areas of improvement for your next retake. The time recommended between each retake may vary slightly depending on the flight school and the part of the recruitment stage that you are at through the assessment programme. It may range from 3 months to a whole year. It's really important to have that time in between each retake so that you can really focus on developing your skills in time for your next retake. Practice, preparation and research are really key here. Becoming a pilot is a huge undertaking and it's really important that you've fully considered why you want to become a pilot to help ensure that the role is right for you. Take some time to think about the training that you'll potentially be undertaking and what some of the challenges might be for you during the training so that you can try and think of what some of those strategies are that you're going to be able to use to overcome those challenges. This can help you prepare for any difficulties that you might face during the training and support you in managing those situations. If you are required to take an interview as part of your training or as part of the assessment process, it can be really useful to explain your motivation. So make sure that you've really thought about why this role is right for you and why you want to join this particular flight school. Try and immerse yourself in the industry as much as possible. If you're able to speak to individuals at the chosen flight school or individuals who work within the industry, try and make use of those contacts as much as you can so that you can develop your knowledge and learn as much as possible about some of the realities of the role and of the industry and what the training is really going to be like for you. It can be really useful to practice and prepare yourself for the assessment process as much as possible, particularly if you have the time available. So this can be a range of different practice tests or practice assessment processes. So this can range from a mock interview to different online aptitude-based tests. So we as providers do offer online practice interviews as well as a range of online tests so you can practice your maths, physics and cognitive reasoning skills. There are lots of providers available that also offer different practice areas that you can develop your skills at. It's really important that you try and do as much research as possible here so you can make sure that the practice tests that you're doing are going to be most useful for you as you progress through the assessment selection process that you're going to be going to that's tailored in particular to the flight school for you.